Welcome to Ngosi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Good afternoon. My name is Nomsa Clara Mbe, and I'm sorry I'm late today. So I've had problems with the audio. I hope now the audio is working, and we're good to go. So if it is your first time at Ngosi Talk Shows, we talk about all different subjects and from all walks of life. So please subscribe to our channel and let's have fun. So at Ngosi Talk Shows, we help you find your own voice and lead from within. And that's why we cover all the subject. Basically, it's like everyday talk show. We talk about things that are happening in real life. So my topic today is what causes most problems in a relationship. So we're going to talk about the causes of the problems, and we're going to talk about, unfortunately, I would love to say we can avoid the problems, but we are human beings. We can't avoid problems, but we have to know how to deal with problems when they do come, when they do rise. So in a relationship, it doesn't matter how perfect you are, how perfect couples they are, you always going to have problems in that relationship. But if your mindset is in the right place and both people, couples, spouse are on the same page, you're able to climb the mountain. So what is the cause of the problem? What the rule number one is infidelity. Infidelity causes problems in a relationship when somebody basically start cheating, and it will cause problems in a relationship. And when that does when that problems arises, there will be challenges in a relationship. And the next one is the loss of intimacy. So what happens in a relationship? We meet our spouse, we are compatible or we are not compatible, and a few years down the line, the first year is actually the hardest year, because the first year you're trying basically to figure out your spouse, you're trying to basically to see if you're compatible. But in that first year, um, everything is great, because everything wants to every both parties, they're trying so hard to please each other. The communication is great, the sex, intimacy, everything is great. But you will find that there are some people that will meet spouse, and they know that basically when it comes to intimacy, they are not being satisfied. So they will go on instead of communicating with their spouse, because when you actually, there are some people that have never had experience when it comes to relationship. Everything is all about learning. Everything is all about communicating with each other and helping each other. The couples are helping each other out. But it does, some couples it does happen, but some couples it doesn't. And so that will cause problems, the loss of intimacy. And also when people have been in a relationship for a very long time, the relationship dies and it gets boring. People say it gets boring because they want to try something else. But I'm not sure if that's the case, because if life was getting boring, you create your own life. No partner, basically. If life, a relationship is boring, it means we have to keep changing partners all the time, but you can make it exciting. So we can talk about that later. And the other thing is loss of communication. When there is no communication in relationships, it destroys relationship, because if you're not communicating your want, you're not communicating your needs, so that means that relationship is going to be challenged. And the other one is coping with stress. There are some people like when you have children and you have to manage home, you have to uh, basically take children to the activities and stuff. And sometimes if you're working long hours, so there could be stress where you feel that you have to cope with that stress and not seeking help. And also the other one is when couples don't communicate with each other when it comes to basically finances, and when it comes to anything that you are stressed about, you have to communicate. Some people believe, mostly men, they believe that they have to cope. They don't have to. If they start expressing what their feelings to their spouse, it shows weakness. But I don't know where in the Bible is written, or where in the dictionary is written, where it says a man, when a man is communicating his worries and concerns, that it shows weaknesses. I don't know. So I don't know where man gets that from. So I think it's a habit that was created. It's a habit that it needs to go. Men, if you are listening, you don't have to cope with stress. You can talk about it, and together with your spouse, you can actually work things out. And the other one is financial pressure. Financial pressure causes problems in relationships. And sometimes it could be like, now we've been to lockdown. There's so many people that lost their jobs, and some people still now they have not found jobs. Some companies has to close down, and that is financial stress. And those who have had businesses have not been running. Some have been running really well, they've made profit during lockdown, but some haven't. So that is financial pressure. So if you feel that pressure, communicate with your spouse and seek help if it's needed. And boundaries, the other one is boundaries violation. When boundaries are being violated in a relationship, it can cause stress, it can cause pain, it can cause disappointment, it can cause all sorts of things when somebody feel that their boundaries have been violated. So there are so many things that basically that you will need to basically, if you feel that your boundaries in a relationship has been violated, just work on them and work with your spouse and explain how they violated with your boundaries, and be able to forgive, because forgiveness is very, very important. Forgiveness is very, very important. And the other one is balancing couples' expectations and individuals' expectations in a relationship. When someone enters a relationship and they have expectations, and when those expectations have not been met, and that can cause difficulties in a relationship, it can cause problems in a relationship. So make sure that when you enter a relationship, you communicate your expectations. You cannot expect someone to give you something they cannot give themselves. So sometimes those are the disappointment, or you cannot expect, like sometimes we enter a relationship and we see that this person cannot give us what we want, or this person basically is not compatible with us. But then we think, you know what, I'm gonna go in this relationship anyway. Things will work out. I'm gonna design this person, and they will be the person that I want them to be. And when those expectations are not met, then it can cause problems in relationship. So make sure that when you enter a relationship, you are compatible with your spouse, and make sure that if even though you are compatible, you communicate your want, you communicate your expectations, so that you don't expect too much to the other party, because relationship is all about us. It's all about the energy that we bring to that relationship. And if those expectations are not met, it can cause basically separation and breakup. And the other one is lack of mutual support. So when you enter a relationship, you support each other, you support your lover. Sometimes, like most our generation, we want the romance. When I mean romance, we want everything that comes with a relationship. We want the kiss, we want the sex, we want the presents, we want to be adored. But when problems comes, we are like, no, that's not what I asked for. We expect a ready-made relationship. So that does not happen in reality. So if those younger generation that are watching, if you expect your spouse, a woman or a man, to be a ready-made product, it's not gonna happen. So a relationship requires you to work on it. A relationship requires you to get to know your spouse. A relationship requires you to hold your spouse through dark times till the end. A relationship requires you to have the knowledge of how to run a relationship. It requires you to know your role. As a woman, I have to know my role. As a man, you have to know your role. So if you have anything that you would like to add, please feel free to type. I love to hear from you. So relationship requires effort. So when basically that support is not there, you're not supporting each other, and that relationship can end, and it's easy, and mostly when people give up on each other. um like I said before, people can give out of their relationship very easy, and sometimes the cause of the problem is the values and beliefs. If values and beliefs are different, that can affect relationships. Values are important. Family values, they are important. If they are important to you, and you date someone that does not value basically the values, the things that you value, then that relationship is not gonna work. I've met people myself that I'm a Christian, but my spouse doesn't go to church, and I pray one day that he will go to church. But I love him the way he is, that he doesn't go to church, because not every man that is a Christian, people hide from the Bible. So not every man that is a Christian is actually a Christian. So some men, they go, they're married, they go, they have a ring. When they enter church, they have they see a beautiful woman, they take off their rings. So it does happen a lot. So, but I like him the way he is, and I hope that one day, yes, he will join me. But I'm not willing to change the man. I don't want to do that. Those are my values, that I basically love going to church. I love to pray. But at the same time, I love the men to be who they want to be, not to be what I want. And even the Bible, Jesus himself he says, come as you are with your burden. I will love you. He accepts you. So if God can accept me, so I'm good to date a man that I value his presence, that basically value and respect me. So Some women give a man, they give their women an ultimatum. They meet someone, they're not a Christian, and a man will meet a woman, she's not a Christian, and a woman will meet a man, he's not a Christian, and they understand that I'm a Christian, I'm not, but some men believes, and some women, some people believes in God, but they don't practice going to church. And then a few years down the line, I'm gonna give him an ultimatum, or I'm gonna give her an ultimatum. You come with me to church, or if you don't, the relationship ends. Honestly, I have met people that tells me that my spouse comes to church because I gave him an ultimatum. But what happens when you give someone an ultimatum? I've met so many people. Some people they say this doesn't smoke because I gave him an ultimatum. I gave her an ultimatum. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So if you don't like cigarette, why dating somebody who smokes and thinking that few years down the line you're gonna give them an ultimatum? The secret is if somebody loves you and you give them an ultimatum that do this. If you don't, I will leave you. That will be the end of that open, loving, floodgate, unconditional relationship. So that relationship, it will change because that person, they are doing what they are doing to please you. Even if they do go to church, they are pleasing you. Even if they quit smoking or they stop doing what they're doing or drinking. There are some people who drink casually, they don't drink too much, but they get given an ultimatum that stop drinking or else. It's not gonna be something that they will forget. Some people might forgive you and forget about it, but some people will hold you will hold you that for many, many years to come, and that can destroy a relationship. And the other thing is jealousy. Jealousy destroys relationship. When someone is jealousy and possessive, it destroys a relationship because when you are jealousy, that means that you don't trust. If you're jealous of someone, it means you don't trust. And jealousy mostly is the insecurity. It comes out when someone is insecure. So if you believe that you are insecure, because if you don't trust yourself that you're beautiful enough, that means that there are some underlying problems. Instead of dealing with jealousy, just look through your life, dealing with what is causing this jealousy. So we're going to talk about that later, basically, and emotional infidelity. So there are some people that are emotionally, they cheat on their spouse or they look at a woman, basically, there's all sorts of that happens in people's head. You'll be surprised. And the moment that all those kind of things happen, then that means that trust is broken. And physically, sexually infidelity, and it destroys a relationship because that trust is broken. And when the trust is broken, it's hard to rebuild it. Some people do basically climb the mountain and build the trust again, but some they don't. So that is the problem that destroys a relationship. And the other one is gameplay. When the spouse plays games, somebody plays games in a relationship, and it destroys, because when someone is playing games, emotionally they're destroying you. So when they are destroying you emotionally, that means basically you're gonna need help. So and so that is the problem. And also growing apart. When couples grow apart, that can cause problems in a relationship. Why do couples grow apart? We're going to talk about that later. So we have to understand that when we meet, there are some things that are agree that this is who I am, and this is this is what I want. But that 1 year is beautiful, and then after 1 year, people start doing whatever they want. They don't feel that they have to make an effort in that relationship. So you have to make an effort, and you have to basically make sure that emotionally you communicate yourself, because emotionally bleeding, when you are emotionally bleeding, it destroys a relationship as well. Emotional bleeding, it means emotions. When I'm saying talking about emotional bleeding, it means that I'm in a relationship but I feel so alone. There are so many people that are in a relationship but they feel so alone, and because basically some things happen in that relationship and you grow apart, and emotionally you're bleeding because that support is no longer there anymore. So that can destroy a relationship and relationship communicating problems. So when you have communicating problems, you don't communicate with your spouse, that can cause big problems when it comes to relationship. And also too much screen time, it can cause problems as well. Always on gadgets. And the other one is social media. Try to cut down on social media. It's like your spouse, if your spouse goes to work and they come home, they want your attention, they want to talk to you, because a home is where someone feels comfortable. And when they finish work, it's like myself, when I finish work, when I get home, home is where everything is. Emotionally, I can be who I want to be. Even at work, I can be who I want to be, but at home, I just relax and spend time with my family. So when your spouse gets home, you don't know the day they have had. So when they walk into that door, just welcome them. If there is something that they have not done or you are angry with them, just try to hold on. Hold on. I'm not saying hold on to anger. Hold on to whatever you want to say, negative things you want to say. Hold on to it and just greet them and let them take a breath and let them feel at home, as home is home. Stay off on social media if you can. If you have your insecurities, we're going to talk about that. The solution of if you are having securities, I spoke about the emotional bleeding, and sometimes not knowing to communicate, it destroys problems. I covered that. And holding grudges, unforgiveness. You forgot my birthday, and I am gonna make you suffer. I'm gonna hold you with all my. I'm gonna hold you and hold you. I am not going to forgive you. And when the birthday comes, or when something happens, you remember what you did last time. You forgot my birthday, holding grudges and not letting things go. So we all human. When your spouse does something wrong, you have to have the courage to forgive. Forgiveness is something that it has to come natural. You forgive yourself and you forgive the other person. We shouldn't get hurt when things happen, when things like that happen. We shouldn't get hurt. For me, basically, I like to communicate. If there is something that I don't like, I like to get it out of my chest straight away, and I like to forget all about it. Once I forget all about it, I'm good to go. So it is good to actually make sure that um, you forgive your spouse if they've wronged you, and not the other one is not hearing your spouse. You have to have the courage to hear. Give yourself uh, some time to hear your spouse, what they are communicating to you, and listen to them. And if you don't hear them, and when someone feels that they are not being heard, that can cause problems in relationship. And the other one is selfishness. When someone is selfish, that can destroy a relationship. And the other one is family, friends interfering in relationship. Is mostly in-laws interfering in relationships. That destroys the relationship. And I was watching, I think that was a few years ago, and they were saying 70% of relationships in the UK, was on ITV1 or BBC1, is being destroyed by the laws. So when you meet someone, and friends, when you meet someone, you have to, your job is to protect your spouse, and your job is to love your spouse. For me, basically, I don't allow anyone in my family to say negative things or about my spouse or friends. And I don't talk about negative things about my spouse. Not that they are perfect, they are not. They are not. So I don't go for coffee and mourning about my spouse and saying negative things about them. It is wrong. So the reason why family and friends interfere is whatever happens in a relationship, it should stay in a relationship or with a therapist. That's why it's important to find a therapist. Because if I had problems with my spouse and I go and tell my family are going to interfere, thinking that they are protecting me, but they are not. Actually, they are destroying, not knowing that maybe I went there confiding in them because I needed them to just listen, or they might just start giving my spouse attitude. So sometimes a relationship is interference with the families, in-laws, and on the women's side or the father side or the men's side, they interfere. And also is sometimes people don't accept. It's acceptance. Sometimes when someone dates someone, family members, if there's someone they don't like, they don't accept that person. The reason why people don't accept that person, I don't think it is because of um, I think it's because 99% is because of what they're going through themselves. Because let's say me and my spouse, we start dating, and he goes and introduce me to his family, and his family, they give me an attitude. They can give me an attitude, but when they give me an attitude, sometimes it is the threat. They feel threatened that they're going to lose. If they are close, they're going to lose that person over me because of me. So it would then be up to a man or a woman to give the family reassurance that I will always be there. She will always be here. I'm not taking her away. So sometimes some people, because of confidence, you have to give them that reassurance. By giving them that reassurance is you loving the family and not judging each other and loving them and showing them that I'm here for her and you're my family too. So as long as they do understand that, but some people, sometimes things can be misunderstood. and people don't know how to deal with those kind of things when they do appear. So that's how you need to deal with it. Sometimes it'll be small problems, and then the relationship will end up being destroyed because of that. And the other one is addiction. When someone addiction to drugs, alcohol, so many things, video games, and so many things that can cause addictions. Sex, some people are addicted to porno movies and sex. Physically, they basically go around, and if they don't sleep with someone, they don't feel happy. So some people have their own addiction. So addictions can destroy relationships. So, and eating problems as well, addiction, eating, and so these are the things that you need to realize when you are dating someone, that it can destroy your relationship, and misunderstanding as well. And the other things is not wanting to let go of basically bad habit. When you date someone, if they have bad habit, uh, in that relationship, bad habit, you have to let those bad habit go. If you don't, then it would destroy your relationship. Or sometimes if you are dating a spouse who loves to control, there are some spouses that are control freaks. They like to control everything. Basically, if things are not done how they like it, basically they will always make the other person feel that not worthy. So if those who didn't know, who likes to control everything, that's how the other person will feel. That there are some people who don't mind if they date someone who likes to control, but sometimes it's frustrating. Like myself, there are times where I want to do things myself, and my spouse want to do things himself. So if I am someone who is a control freak, so that means that person, they will lose their identity, and they'll lose their character. They'll end up not having the character that they want. So it's very, very important to actually make sure that um, when you enter a relationship, you know where you stand. Because when you enter a relationship, you are not there to control anyone, you are there to say. So it's very, very important to have that understanding from the beginning. And the other one is unsatisfying sex. And some people, they will meet each other and the sex is not good, and they'll believe that things will get better, or we can live with it, but a few years down the line it will cause problems. Or sometimes people meet each other, sex is amazing, and then things change. So that can cause big, big problems. And the other one is compatibility. If someone is not compatible with each other, if couples are not compatible with each other, that can cause big, big problems. So you do need to make sure that when you meet someone, you are actually compatible. Uh, and the other one is comparison. When you're comparing your spouse with someone else's spouse, or your exes, or someone you dated, or your friend, his husband, or wife, and then you start comparing them, that basically it destroys someone inside, because that person, if they love to be themselves, if they don't like to be compared. Or sometimes you see your friends, they posting social media pictures, and then you start thinking, why can't we be like that? You can be what you want to be, but you just can't be someone that has posted pictures on social media. It is their life, and you don't know the process, what they went through before they posted that, pick those pictures. So it is their life. So you're gonna have to live your own life instead of comparing someone else's life with yours. That can cause problems. And the other one is abuse, mentally, physically, emotionally abuse. It can cause humiliation, It can cause humiliation to your spouse. Your spouse can feel intimidated, and it can destroy their identity, their character, and it can destroy their self-worthiness. They can feel that they are not worthy if someone is being abused, is going through abuse in a relationship. So those are the things that someone can feel. And the other problem is if you are dating a narcissist. So you have to mentally, emotionally, it destroys you basically. And but it doesn't have to be that way. And you just have to, when you are dating someone like that, you have to basically find a solution. It doesn't get better. So when someone is in an abusive relationship, sometimes people believe that things will get better, but it doesn't. So you have to seek help. That's all I can say. I wish I can tell you that there is a solution. No, the solution is you getting to a therapist and seeking help to get out of that relationship. And what are the solutions for all these things that I have just mentioned? So the solution for you to actually solve all these relationship problems is, first you have to build a character. I'm not saying you start looking at superheroes or looking at people on TV or social media. Build your own character. Okay, you both are in a relationship, the couples. Build your own relationship character that is authentic and that is unique. So ask yourself, both of you, what does a good relationship look like to you, to both of you? What does it look like? First, basically, you have to get into personal development and work on yourself. And once you work on yourself, and then you meet each other, or sometimes you start working on both yourselves while you are in a relationship. So then you create a character, because a relationship needs a good foundation. A good foundation in a relationship, it means a relationship will succeed the problems. So it means the problems will come and the solution will be there. So when you're building a character, both the character, you have to have an understanding why you're building that character. Because both parties, you are rewriting your story. When you meet someone there, this is a man that is looking for love. This is the woman that is looking for love. And both people come together. And when you both come together, the story has to be rewritten. It was as individual. Now it has to be rewritten to let this person into your world, to let this one into your world. So you have to rewrite your story to accommodate somebody else. I'm not saying you got to change. You don't have to change. You have to keep your true authenticity. So you don't change your who you are. You work, you grow in a relationship. So you bring both parties are together. So and then now you are together. You understand the relationship that you want. We want a long-term. Do you want a long-term relationship? The man says yes. Do you want a long-term relationship? The woman says yes. Okay, we are good to go. So now we are on the same page. So now we come together. Your vision, man, your vision, woman, has to align with this one. That one align together. So once we know the character, what we want, we know our characters. This is my character. I cannot change for to fit in my spouse. So we both understand each other, we keep our true authenticity, then we rewrite our story. Are we gonna have children? What do you think? No, not now. We're not gonna have children yet. We want to enjoy life. There's got to be an agreement to avoid problems. So if children comes, do we want to have children in the future? Yes, we do. But then what happens when child happens accident? Take responsibility. You don't run, you don't run, you take responsibilities. And once you are rewriting that story you are rewriting, it has to basically, before we rewrite our story, now we met each other, we're getting married, or we're not getting married yet, or you're not having children. A man has a vision, and this woman has a vision, and so we understand what we are looking for, what we want in a relationship. We come to an agreement. Now we need to build a foundation. So this man has to know his role. He has to know his role in a relationship. What is a man's role? A man is a provider. In order for a relationship to work, a man is a provider. Jealousy is not what I signed for. Emotional infidelity is not what a woman is signed for. Physically, sexual infidelity, playing games is not what a woman is signed for. All the negative, the coping with the stress and challenges is something that comes in package with a relationship, which you have to deal with it together. But when that happens, something that you did not sign for, you don't run, you work together. But if there is abuse involved, physically, mentally, get out. You cannot make an excuse for somebody who is abusing you. You cannot make an excuse. So once a man knows that I am the provider, a man is a teacher. So a man teaches his woman the values. He has a vision. So he teaches this is how our home is going to run, the principles. If they're going to have children, the man teaches his children family values, family beliefs. He loves his wife. He teaches his wife how to love. He brings out, he's a teacher that brings out the best in everything that is around him. So that is a man. A man is an architect. He has a vision. An architect, you draw, you create. He has to have a vision. That's why they call a man an architect. He has a vision for his future with his children, his wife. Which city are they going to live? What kind of a city are they going to live? His work, everything in the environment, he makes decision. A woman comes in, she mentors that idea, and that idea comes to reality. That's why a man is an architect, a woman, she's a mentor. And a man is designed to bring, I think I've already mentioned that a man is designed to bring life to everything around him. So that's that. A woman is a provider, is a mentor as well. A woman, she is a helper. She helps her husband. When a husband is a teacher, the woman, she helps her husband, making sure that the values and beliefs, they stay and they are in the foundation. They stay in the foundation. She plants everything in that foundation. What the husband is, the vision that the husband, she plants it together with her man and brings out the best. The man brings out the best and the roots of that problem. And a woman, she's also a mentor, and a woman, she's a developer. She develops things. The husband comes in, creativity, architecture, and everything. The woman develops everything. She gives life. the woman gives life. So that's how important it is. And a woman design order to the family programs, plans. She plans, she asks her man, how are they going to spend the weekend? And is there anywhere they would like to go? She will make plans, or if a man can do it, she'll make sure that those plans have been designed so they can enjoy, or taking the children out, so they plan everything. So that's, if we know our roles, that takes the problem, that solves the problem. A man knows his role, a woman knows her role. That solve the problem. Once you both know where you stand and you both know your roles, then what's the vision? Now a man and a husband, they have to have a vision. Then they write that vision together. A man has their own vision. A woman has their own vision. But the visions have to complement each other. If they clash, then that means the relationship is not going to work. So make sure that your vision, the interest is good to be different. We have to embrace the difference in a relationship. So I can have my interest that I liked. I go and spend time with my girlfriends, and then my man has interest that he likes. We go and spend time with his girlfriends. And once you are clear of what you want to plant in that relationship, then you have to be clear of your boundaries. Be clear. Make sure that both parties are clear of your boundaries. We have principles in place that cannot be violated. They will be violated, but when they are violated, make sure that the other party is happy to take responsibilities. So that is the other thing that you're gonna have to basically make sure that you are all both on the same page. And when you are creating all these things, and you're creating your vision, and you are understanding your roles as a man and as a woman, make sure that everything is not driven by pressure. Because if you feel pressure when you are doing something, and you feel pressure, it takes away the enjoyment, it destroys relationship. Make sure that everything, the boundaries that you put in place, you are putting in place based on your character of who you are as a person, and how you want the other person to treat you, not because you are being pressured. And even your role as a man, you have to know your role. Don't feel that you're being pressured to anything. And as a woman, you have to know your role. And when you both know your role, it creates a uniqueness, and keep your true authenticity, and your uniqueness. So once you both have an understanding, now you can build a foundation in a relationship. Plants. What are you planting in those roots of your foundation? We've got to avoid fighting, saying hateful words to each other, because when we say those things, it will cause problems. And when it does cause problems, the roots of a relationship, they're not going to grow. So we want the roots of the relationship to grow. In order for those roots to grow, we have to be creative. Make sure that we are planting the seeds of that builds someone. And when you are in that relationship, you have to evaluate it. Are you growing in that relationship? Who are you becoming as a person? Is this man that you are dating, is he bringing out the best in you? Are you growing in that relationship? Is very, very important to actually plant good seeds in your foundation. So when you plant good seeds, it means when the problems do come, do come in a relationship, you are able to solve those problems and create the connection. Deeper connection is created based on two people on the same page and understanding their worthiness and embracing who they are becoming and loving each other unconditional and show interest on your spouse's interest. And if your spouse have some things that they like, show interest in them, and that is basically how you connect with someone. I'm not saying, like myself, I like running. My spouse don't have to like running, but when you show interest is when I'm talking about my run or what went on when I was running. Show interest to wanting to listen, to have a conversation. You don't have to like it, but you can show interest and have a conversation and compliment when it is necessary. Compliment your spouse and forgive when you have to forgive. And what else do you need to do? And self-discipline. Stay disciplined. Self-discipline is very, very important. There's loads and loads and loads of things that you need to basically put in place when you are dating someone or if you are married to someone, but it is individual. So when you're watching this video, you have to look at yourself and look at your relationship and recreate your life, how based on your character and based on how you both, you and your spouse, want to build that relationship. And once you both know your want and your desires, your vision, and also stay connected within you. You don't have to disconnect basically your inner being to to love someone. A relationship is not there for you to lose your identity. It's very, very important to be who you are meant to be. Even if you are married to someone, there are some people when they enter a relationship, everything changes. But it doesn't have to be like that. You can change some things, but leave your identity. Make sure that you still keep your identity. You can grow. There are some people that says I've changed. You don't change, you grow. There's a difference between when someone says I've changed or I've grown. I've grown, but I'm still the same. I don't change. I've grown mentally, mindset. I've grown. Like myself, if you had met me in 2008, 6, I was basically different, but now I've grown. My mindset is grown. I'm still the same, Nomsa, but I just think different. I don't think the same way that I used to think. I don't walk the same way that I used to walk. I don't speak the same way that I used to speak. I don't do the same thing that I used to do. I basically do different things. I'm not afraid to experience life. I'm not afraid to become who I've meant to become. Even if there are challenges, the challenges comes my way. I'm not afraid to pick myself up and keep going. So that's what you need to know, you need to do. Be the person that you are meant to be. When you enter a relationship, you enter a relationship to love, to grow in that relationship, to serve, kings to serve your queen, and queens to serve your king. So that's why you enter a relationship for, just to get to know that person and have this and that person becomes your best friend. They become your family and not your enemy. There are some people basically they're enemies in a relationship, but they're enemies. They fight, they do all sorts of things. Your lover does not have to be your enemy. So that's basically how you basically run your relationship and create a good foundation. Just like, imagine the tree. If the tree had a bad foundation, bad habit, bad of everything mix up, the tree would die. So that's what a relationship is. A relationship will die if it hasn't been, if it's not looked after. So you have to make sure that you look after your relationship. And like I did speak before about jealousy. How do we solve jealousy? The reason why you feel jealousy in your relationship, there must have been some insecurities or what you were told about yourself, or there must be something that makes you think you are not enough for that person. Because at the end of the day, we are all the same. So if I meet a man and that man tells me how much they love me and how much they want to spend their rest of their lives with me, so why would I start being jealous if that man, or maybe there is something that a man does that makes you jealous, they abuse the games, or maybe there is something that a woman does, the games, the what. People use beauty, they will use their beauty against their spouse. They will use anything playing mind games. So make sure that if you feel jealousy, make sure you communicate with your spouse and work on it together. I know sometimes it can be embarrassing, but if you do feel that I'm actually feeling jealous, or find yourself a therapist. Once you find a therapist and you just talk to a therapist and try to solve the problems why you feel that way. And if you have trust issues as well, it could be something from your childhood attachment that is making you not to trust. Try to find out and basically get therapy. Why do you feel that way? Or it could be simple, you've been hurt, or sometimes you've been cheated. So you have to understand that the person that you've dated, then this one is different. So people are not, they're not the same. People are different. So try to make sure that um, you get help. And if you have problems with the infidelity, then this is something that is big that is gonna have to come from you, whether you choose to forgive that person and get help. Because if you say, I'm gonna forgive you for cheating on me, it's got to be forgiveness. There is no holding grudge and say when this person does something wrong and you remind them for what they have done. So if you believe that you definitely want to forgive this person that has cheated on you, you've got to forgive 100%. But if you are struggling to forgive, it destroys a relationship. The solution is for you to get help, both of you. But first, I suggest you go for therapy separate and then come together after. Because when you go separate, then you are able to communicate and then you come together as one to basically to see whether is it something that you want to forgive and stay, or forgiving it will be enough but you want to go separate ways. So those are the things that you're gonna have to deal with it. If you are dating someone who plays mind games, they don't change, they're not gonna change. I'm afraid they're gonna change it if they go to therapy. If they don't go to therapy, so sometimes people say I had to learn to live with things. You don't have to learn to live with anything. You can go to therapy and basically get out of that relationship. All I can say is if you feel that the relationship that you're in is abusive, there's abuse in that relationship, just get out of that relationship. I wouldn't say to you learn to live with it, because that is wrong. Learning to live with pain, How can I learn to live with pain? That is a slow death. So I wouldn't suggest that. So get help. And if someone has addiction as well, just try to get help, because on your own, I don't think you can fight. You can help. You can't help. You can be a spouse for somebody, but you cannot play therapist with them and say, I have to learn to put up with the alcoholic. I have to learn to put up with the drug addict. No, you can't. So you have to get help. So that is me for today at Ngozi Talk Shows. If you are looking for love, please come and join Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency. If you want to find your own voice and lead from within, get in touch at Ngozi Talk Shows, and we'll connect you with whoever you feel the speaker that you want to connect with. And God bless everyone and live with grace. I'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. UK time.